The doctor's words echoed in Sarah's mind like a death sentence. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Chen, but your chances of conceiving naturally are less than 1%. She had walked out of that office 5 years ago with her world crumbling, but nothing prepared her for what her husband, Michael, would say that evening. "I married you to build a family. Sarah, if you can't give me that, what's the point?" 3 months later, Sarah stood in an empty apartment with divorce, papers on the counter, and a heart that felt like shattered glass. At 32, she was starting over, alone, heartbroken and convinced that she was somehow less of a woman because her body couldn't do what society expected it to. The rejection cut deeper than any physical pain. Michael had remarried within 6 months, and the Facebook announcement of his new wife's pregnancy felt like a knife twisting in an old wound. Sarah threw herself into her work at Riverside Community Center, a small nonprofit serving underprivileged families in downtown Seattle. If she couldn't be a mother, she reasoned, at least she could mother the community. She coordinated after-school programs, organized food drives, and became the person everyone called when they needed help. The work filled her days, but at night, the silence of her studio apartment was deafening. 2 years after her divorce, on a rainy November afternoon, everything changed. Sarah was sorting donations in the center's storage room when Maria, the receptionist, poked her head in. "There's a man here asking about our tutoring program. Says he needs help with 4 kids. He looks—" Maria paused, lowering her voice. "Expensive." Daniel Winters didn't look like their typical client. His tailored coat and polished shoes seemed out of place among the scuffed linoleum and fluorescent lights. But it was his eyes that struck Sarah, deep, tired eyes that held a grief she recognized. "Mr. Winters? I'm Sarah Chen, program coordinator. How can I help you?" He managed a weak smile. "Please, call me Daniel. I'm not sure where to start. My wife passed away 8 months ago. Cancer. I have 4 children, ages 6, 8, 10, and 12, and I'm drowning." His voice cracked on the last word. "My company demands 60-hour weeks, and my kids are falling apart. The oldest, Emma, is failing school. The youngest, Sophie, has nightmares every night. I can hire nannies, tutors, therapists, but what they need—" He stopped, swallowing hard. "What they need is someone who actually cares." Sarah's heart clenched. "I'm so sorry for your loss. Let me see what we can arrange." She expected him to drop off the kids and disappear like so many busy parents did. Instead, Daniel showed up to every tutoring session, sitting quietly in the corner, watching Sarah work with his children. She had a gift with kids, patience that seemed endless, a warmth that made them feel safe. She helped Emma with algebra, taught Sophie to read, played basketball with 10-year-old Marcus, and listened to 12-year-old Lily talk about missing her mother. One evening after the other kids had left, Daniel approached Sarah as she was cleaning up. "Can I ask you something?" "Why do you do this?" "You give so much of yourself to other people's children." Sarah's hand stilled on the art supplies she was organizing. The question touched the rawest part of her heart. "Because," she said quietly, "I can't have children of my own. So I love everyone else's." She expected pity. Instead, Daniel said, "Their loss is these kids' gain. My children haven't smiled this much since their mother got sick. You've given them something I can't. Hope that life can be good again." The weeks turned into months. Daniel started volunteering at the center, using his business expertise to help with fundraising. Sarah found herself looking forward to seeing him, to their conversations after the kids' sessions. He told her about building his tech company from nothing, about falling in love with his college sweetheart, about the helplessness of watching cancer take her piece by piece. She told him about her marriage, her divorce, her journey from despair to purpose. "Michael used to say I was broken," Sarah confessed one evening as they walked to their cars. "Like I was a defective product that needed to be returned." Daniel stopped walking, anger flashing in his eyes. "You're not broken, Sarah. You're one of the most whole people I've ever met." That man was an idiot. Something shifted between them that night. Emma was the first to notice. "Dad has a crush on Miss Sarah," she announced at dinner one evening, making her father choke on his water. "Emma!" Daniel sputtered. "It's true. You smile all weird when you talk about her, and you check your phone like a million times waiting for her texts." Lily nodded sagely. "Mom would like her." "She's kind like Mom was." The words hung in the air. Daniel looked at his 4 children, seeing past his own guilt for the first time. Would it be okay if Miss Sarah and I spent time together? Not as your tutor, but as my friend? Sophie climbed into his lap. Will she be our new mommy? Honey, it doesn't work like that. But do you love her? Marcus interrupted. Because we do. Daniel realized with sudden clarity that his children had just given him permission to live again. Yeah, buddy. I think I might. He asked Sarah to dinner the next week. She almost said no. The fear of rejection still lived in her bones. But something about Daniel felt different, felt safe. Over pasta and wine, he told her something that would change everything. I need to be honest with you, Daniel said, reaching across the table for her hand. I know about your ex-husband. Emma found an old article online about his remarriage where he mentioned the divorce. I'm telling you this because I want you to know I don't care that you can't have biological children. Sarah, I already have 4 kids who desperately need a mother figure. They need someone who will love them not because they share DNA, but because they choose to. That's you. You've been choosing them every single day for months. Tears spilled down Sarah's cheeks. Daniel, I'm scared. What if I'm not enough? What if you're exactly what we need? He interrupted gently. What if being enough has nothing to do with biology and everything to do with heart? You have the biggest heart of anyone I've ever known. Their relationship bloomed slowly, carefully. Sarah met the children for dinner at Daniel's home, helped with homework, attended soccer games and piano recitals. She loved how Lily talked for hours about books, how Marcus made terrible jokes, how Emma was fiercely protective of her siblings, how Sophie drew pictures of them all together with Sarah included in the family portrait. 6 months later, at the community center's annual fundraiser that Daniel had helped organize, he got down on one knee in front of 300 people. But before he could speak, his 4 children rushed onto the stage, each holding a flower. Miss Sarah, Emma said, her voice shaking, we know you've had people in your life who made you feel like you weren't enough, but you're more than enough for us. You're the best almost mom ever, Sophie added. We need you, Lily said simply. Marcus just hugged her, and Sarah felt her heart. That broken thing she thought could never be whole, piece itself back together. Daniel opened the ring box. Sarah Chen, will you marry us? All 5 of us? Through her tears, Sarah could only nod. The wedding was small, intimate, at the community center where they'd met. Sarah wore a simple white dress, and each of Daniel's children had a role in the ceremony. When the officiant pronounced them married, Sophie whispered loudly, Now you're officially our mom, standing there, surrounded by this ready-made family who had chosen her, just as surely as she'd chosen them. Sarah finally understood she wasn't barren. She'd just been waiting for the right seeds to plant in her heart. 4 beautiful children who needed love just as desperately as she needed to give it. Michael had rejected her for what she couldn't give him. Daniel had chosen her for everything she already was. And in the end, Sarah became mother to 4 incredible children not through biology, but through something far more powerful, unconditional. Love and the courage to open her. Broken heart one more time. Sometimes the family you're meant to have isn't the one you imagined. Sometimes it's even better